Well, hello there, and welcome to this episode of the Terri Show. And I want to start with a question. Does it ever feel like no matter how hard you try when you're talking with your partner to get through to them when you're in conflict, that you just can't seem to do it? Do you find that your partner is endlessly defensive? So no matter what you bring up, they say, well, you do this too, or this is the reason I did it. Or maybe you are the defensive one. In this episode, I'm going to be talking all about really fair fighting, right? How can we have clean conflict with the people in our lives? Because it's really impossible to not have conflict at all. And if you're conflict avoidant, a lot of resentment usually grows under that. So in this video, we're going to talk about clean conflict, how to communicate with a defensive partner, like different tips and ways that you can help make them less defensive with the way that you approach them, and why it's important that we understand why we need clean conflicts. What is it, the benefit for us of having clean conflicts? But before we get into it, if you just happen to be new to my channel, lucky you stumbled upon this lovely and wonderful channel, please introduce yourself in the comments because we are a friendly group. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so that you get notified every time I roll out something new, which is every Tuesday and every Thursday. And hey, if you are here, if you enjoy my content and you're not subscribed, why? Dude, it's free. And it helps my numbers. But we know that tons of people watch every single week and are not subscribed. So you want to do a good deed that doesn't cost you a dime? Go subscribe right now. If you're not, please do. I appreciate that. I also love all of your comments. So I want to say thank you for everyone that you leave. You guys know I read everything. And this one is from Mary Ellen Brown 3131. And it's under the video, The 5 Foundational Boundaries for Epic Relationships. Thanks for all your advice. I love watching you and have for years. You're like the super wise, strong, loving, compassionate mother I wish I'd had. Love you. Well, I'm so happy to be anybody's good, kind, gentle, loving, caring internet mom. I'm happy to do it. So I really appreciate you, Mary Ellen, taking the time to write that. It really does warm my heart because really, you guys are the reason I do what I do, right? I'd be doing something else if it wasn't for you. So thank you for being here with me on YouTube. I appreciate you. All right, let's move it on into today's content. Let's start with, why is it important to be able to get the skills to have clean conflict in our relationships? Because really nothing productive happens when we don't. We don't fight fair, even if things seem resolved. The truth is that they're not. If we are sort of manipulating someone or they're manipulating us or we're being guilted, there's so many ways of not having clean conflict, of really fighting dirty in relationships. But again, none of that gets us what we want, which I imagine is resolution, is something to change, is different behavior, is a different way of interacting. So why is it important? Because this is how we build longevity and how relationships become robust, is when we are able to withstand conflict. And we can't avoid it forever. Where some people are really conflict avoidant, but what ends up happening, if you're endlessly conflict avoidant, is that you are missing the actual intimacy in the relationship because we're so polite. We're not talking about the stuff that actually matters or the stuff that's actually bothering us. Another thing to think about with conflict and fighting is you want to be mindful, right? And I don't want to say choose your battles wisely, but I guess I will. And what I mean by that is be mindful. If you're in a crappy mood, you might just be itching for a fight because you want to discharge that energy. You might not even know it, right? But be mindful. If you're in a bad mood and you find yourself being hypercritical in your mind of your partner, take your bad mood into consideration because what they're doing probably wouldn't bother you if you weren't in a crappy mood. So again, before I get into it with Vic about anything, I really think through how I feel and what's important and where I'm coming from. I'm mindful. Am I displacing my aggression on him? Am I frustrated about something else? And sometimes we can be frustrated with our partner about something that is more threatening to talk about. But since we don't want to do that, we end up being nitpicky about small shit because that's less threatening. But again, it's also way less effective because the person doesn't even know what the problem is. Make sense? We want to also be mindful of how we are responding, right? We are seeking to respond instead of react. I like the idea of like taking a beat, taking a moment, and saying, you know what, I need to think about this. So let's circle back this afternoon or whatever. If you need to buy time, even if your partner doesn't like it. I was just writing this part in the new book, which is called Too Much, which comes out in October of 2024, about how Vic, my husband, and I, we've been married 25 years in October, that we deal with our emotions when we're upset differently. And I feel like it might be common, not super, but I like to talk immediately, and he needs a little bit of time to process how he feels and what he's thinking. And over the many years, in the beginning, this was a conflict for us because I was like, is he trying to punish me? Is he avoiding me? Is he being passive aggressive? And then once we had a little bit of couples therapy and we talked about it, I really got to understand that this is just the way he needs to process his feelings. And then we come to an agreement where he'll come back to me in a couple hours. Like, can we take a break? But in a couple of hours, he will come back and we will have the conversation. But it took years for me to not get my instant gratification need met to like, I need to talk about this right now. But I built the trust in him because when he said, let's come back in 2 hours, he would come back in 2 hours and be able to tolerate having the conversation. So I guess we built up the trust, but it takes a little bit of time to find that in the relationship. So anyway, responding mindfully and with mutual respect, because even if you're in conflict with your person, they're still your person, right? So you still want to be relating to them in a loving and generous way to the best of your ability. I love Dr. Becky. She's got this great thing. She talks about the most generous interpretation as opposed to the least generous interpretation. And her theory has to do with parenting children. But this theory really does hold up very well when we're talking about having clean conflict in your relationship or any relationships for that matter, where it's very easy to make the least generous assumption about why the person did the thing that bothered you or didn't do the thing that you wanted them to do. And when we have the most generous assumption, we're way less likely to jump to negative conclusions. Part of being in a relationship is holding your person in high esteem. Instead of making the least generous assumption, work to make the most generous assumption about why they didn't do the thing. So let's talk about clean conflict or fighting fair. And we really want to not hit below the belt, right? So what does that mean? No blaming. No interpreting, right, what they really meant. No diagnosing, no psychoanalyzing, no preaching, moralizing, ordering, threatening, labeling, interrogating, ridiculing, shaming, and lecturing. And that is a list from one of my faves, Dr. Harriet Lerner, about what does below the belt look like. And I want you to keep that list in mind. And I feel like when we're not in conflict is when I've made the most productive agreements with my husband about the way we will interact when we are in conflict. It's obviously way easier to come up with agreements when you're not mad at each other or you're not upset about something. So agreeing that neither one of you will indulge in below the belt tactics is super important. And this is how we protect the relationship. Because again, conflict can be great for a relationship, meaning we become closer. We know each other better after that conflict and when we can successfully resolve the conflict. This is what creates durability in the relationship. But the damage that happens when we are blaming, interpreting, diagnosing, labeling, all the things that I listed, that's stuff that lingers. So we want to be really mindful not to do it. And what do you do when you have a spouse who is really conflict avoidant? So someone in my Facebook group posted, I found that sometimes the other person won't have the difficult conversation because the underlying assumption I'm carrying as I start the conversation or ask questions are already putting them at a disadvantage. It's taken me some time to work through this and see my side of the street. So again, talking about making assumptions and interpreting the other person's behavior, that's basically what they're talking about. Especially if you know that your person is conflict avoidant, how do we go in with a spouse or a partner or even a sister who is really anti-conflict, which many of us have those people. And listen, keep in mind, I don't love a conflict. Like, I'm not looking to have a fight, but I am looking to resolve issues because I know that the issues that we let fester in our lives are the ones that undo our relationships. It is so damaging. That resentment, it's just corrosive when it comes to the relationships themselves. So, moving into how do we approach a defensive partner or a partner who is very conflict avoidant? I like to start with a gentle intro when everything is calm, right? You don't want to like attack them the second they walk in the door. It's like doing it gently and almost with a neutral or a kind vibe is going to make that person respond better. And then the next one is you first, meaning focus on how do we create emotional safety? Is that part of it is maybe you share something, start with your own vulnerable feelings about something, whether it's sadness or disappointment, it could be anxiety, but don't lead with anger and frustration. Because especially for someone who is conflict avoidant, that is going to really turn them off. And a lot of people who are conflict avoidant for lots of good reasons, they don't have control over their nervous system. Like they can literally just shut down. And it can be so infuriating when you're dealing with someone who's shut down. But a lot of times, from a physiological and psychological perspective, there is not much of a choice there for some people, especially if there's a trauma background. So again, you want to go in, and if you're not afraid to be emotionally vulnerable, you can say, this really bummed me out, or this really made me sad, rather than going in with guns blazing, because this actually makes nobody want to talk to you, but conflict avoidant people and defensive people even more so. And then another smart thing to do for your own brain is to manage your own expectation and know that it's going to take a minute to change whatever dynamic, whatever dance you've been in with your partner. It's going to take a minute to change that. So don't expect that the first time you're trying to initiate this conversation in a different way, and if it doesn't go perfectly, that's okay. Just know this is a long game. I can tell you right now, you guys, my entire life is a long game, and there is something so helpful and productive about thinking about your relationship that way. 25 years I've been married. I've been with my husband 27 years. That's a long game where I committed to until death do us part. And I know not everybody makes it. That's okay. But I didn't plan on getting married. I think of the union as a forever prospect because that's what it is for us. So I don't expect that the conflicts we have, we will fix them overnight. But I'm also not willing to give up on the relationship growing and changing, and neither is Vic. We will have our State of the Union. So this is the last thing that I want to tell you about that can be helpful. Doing a State of the Union, it's something that I call, it's sort of like you want to start by having a couple's vision, right? So that's more of a long-term thing. Where do you want to spend your time? If you have expendable income, where do you want to spend that? What are the things you like to do for your hobbies? Who do you like to spend time with? How much time do you want to spend together as a couple? How much separate time? That is what the couple's vision is. And then every week or every other week, Vic and I do what I call a State of the Union, where we do ours on Sunday morning in bed every other week, where we just talk about how we're doing. Is there stuff that needs to be discussed? We start with gratitude. Thank you for helping me do this. I appreciate you changing that. I appreciate your support. I know that I was sort of being snappy the other day, but I appreciate your patience for that. All of those types of things is how we start our State of the Union, where then we move it into what do we need to work on? I have to say, I didn't like the fact that you committed us to do something on Saturday without clearing it with me first, even though it's with people that I really like and you really like. I would really appreciate it if you asked me before you're saying yes, right? Those are small things, but they're things that if we don't talk about them, they build up and they become big things. So on the other side, as this long game of clean conflict keeps going on, right? Your relationship gets better and better. And then the State of the Union is the proactive strategy that you can take, even though it can be after the fact, right? It can be before the fact and it can be after the fact. But what we're doing is we're designating a specific time and we are normalizing talking about things that can be difficult. So basically, there's an expectation when we have the State of the Union that we're going to talk about what's good, what could we work on, what could be better. So again, everyone has skin in the game when you do a State of the Union regularly. Doesn't even have to be long, right? Vic and I, it's usually like a half an hour that we're just shooting the shit, talking, but we're getting things done. And what it ends up doing is it ends up clearing the deck. Like if there's any lingering resentment about anything or any thing that I need to talk to him about, but I haven't talked to him about, it gives me the opportunity to actually have that conversation in a luxurious way with us both having the expectation that that's what we're doing there. So I've seen it work wonders for couples. So I will include all of that for you in the guide. Go to terricole.com/guide. And remember, you guys, be kind, right? You chose this person. They chose you. So even when you're frustrated, remember, words have wings, right? And they can also be weapons. Even if you say something in the heat of the moment that you quote unquote don't mean, once it leaves your mouth, like it's in the world. And I can still think of things that people said to me 30 years ago that hurt my feelings, that were painful. Like they really can do damage to your relationship. And that's why when you get really good at having clean conflict and then move it into being proactive, you are doing such a service to all of your relationships, right? Because we want clean conflict in all of our relationships. Anyway, I want to know if this actually added value to your life. Let me know. You know, I hang out mostly on Instagram. Go get the guide, terricole.com/guide. Thank you for spending time with me today. And as always, take care of you.